We are live back on a Tuesday night with much better news this week. So last week we had Gary on talking about his eBay suspension. Some pretty crazy news last week. Had a whole bunch of people come in to support Gary. There has been some great news come out of that story. So we will get into that tonight. Talk a little bit about, what process Gary had to go through to sort of get his eBay account back, which is a big surprise to a lot of us. Thankfully, eBay saw the light and was able to give Gary his eBay store back. So we will go through step by step sort of what actions Gary took in case this sort of happens in future to anybody else. Obviously, the world of eBay is a lot of smoke and mirrors, so it is very hard to sort of pinpoint the exact thing that helped Gary get back online. But if we sort of put all this out there, possibly if you're in the same position, you might be able to contact the right people or say the right things to help get your account back. So without any further ado, we'll get Gary back on, start talking about the last week, which has been a roller coaster. 7 days since we last had him on and a lot has changed. So let's get Gary on and start having a chat. Hey, Gary.
Hello, how are you?
I'm great, but I'm presuming you're a lot better in your current circumstance than you were last week.
Yes, definitely. So it's good.
it's definitely good. It's better than good. I think it was Wednesday. You sent me a message and you're like, "I'm back," and I was like, "What? What do you mean? Like, what? How?"
Yeah.
And you're like, "I have no idea," but I just got an email, so I rang you and. I'd say that most of the time you're a pretty level-headed sort of, guy, but you did show a little bit of excitement when on that phone call. So I was very happy for you.
Yeah.
I will say a quick hello to everyone. I know that last week we sort of, didn't delve into the chat too much, but we will sort of try and pick up a lot of questions, or if you have any sort of things you want to ask Gary about the things that he had to do to get it back, drop them in. We'll try and pick them up. But it looks like we've got a bunch of people in. We've got Pitter Patter, we've got Cara. Good to see you. Thanks for being here. Modern Vintage Vogue Shopper. Jazz is watching from the lounge room. She'll be getting the itch to come back on live after the last couple of weeks. But Minikin's in as well. We have Anna. I just saw it jump like crazy. Anna's in as well. Captain, who's been in and around. I know that he was giving you a little bit of a line to drop later on about your store, but we'll get on that later. Ken Skeets is here. Good to see you, Ken. He dropped a video just before, and I had to watch in double speed to get through it before the live. So good to see Ken back online. Rack Raiders in the house. Good to see you guys. Beck King, Raucous Reg. Good to see you. Adam, as an American in Australia, that's a tongue twister and a half. We've got Tamara. We've got a whole bunch of people. Dale, Ben, Donna, Chris, one of the people that definitely helped us out with the situation. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Chris.
See Goodness, Jesse Lee, Dale, Shazad. I will give a shout out to Shazad later as well for helping us through. Recommerce Dave, Cody Ogle, Sam. We've got a bunch of people. So if I've missed anyone, sorry to have missed you. Just saw Scott in. Look, Mom Hustling, Mossy, Oz Riley. We've got a full house to see you in tonight, which is awesome, Gary. So, g'day, Ross. We'll start from the start, I suppose. So, about a week and a half ago, your account got suspended. And obviously, it was very hard to sort of pinpoint what the actual trigger for that was. And we sort of had a bit of conjecture about it. But essentially, there was no warnings. There was no sort of flags that would have let you know that you're going to be suspended. And unfortunately, you weren't the only one. There was another person that we actually found in the Australian community that had the same thing happen. So they pretty much told you weren't getting your account back, right? Like they're saying, good luck on another platform. There's no hope, pretty much. And then, so we went live Tuesday. A lot of background work. You were always in contact with eBay. But Wednesday, you got a little email that said something a little bit strange. So I'll see if I can get that one up because I think you sent me that one.
That was the first one I sent you.
Yep.
Yeah, but it didn't say anything. Oh, it said one item had been, I don't know, restored or something. So
I think it's this
your
one.
eBay listing has been restored. So I was like, okay. That's weird.
So that was the first sort of, I don't know, weird sign, I suppose, in that you hadn't really been told at that point that your account was back, but you got a random email that said you can relist this item, right?
Yeah. So what I did is I went to, because everything had been ended, or the listing had been ended. So I just picked one thing and just pulled it across, and it went live. So I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. I couldn't do that before. And then that item sold within about 10 minutes. So I was like, oh, okay, cool. Very promising. And I think I spoke to you after that. I think maybe I sent you a message or something.
Yeah. I was actually at work. I almost fell off my chair when I got that message, because I was like, what? How has this happened? And that was the first question I asked you, was like, what have you done since yesterday? So obviously there was a lot of people reaching out and sort of sending messages to whoever they could. And we will get to some thanks at the end. But, you know, it's really hard for us to sort of pinpoint what actually triggered them to have a look at it. And we think that maybe it was an automated process. But regardless of how it happened, it's amazing that it did happen. So I wanted to find out sort of some of the things that you did personally to sort of, you know, reach out to eBay, and, you know, what are those sort of things that you think may have helped you get it back? Do you think it was just an automated process? What do you think sort of
well, okay. Well, firstly, I have a bit of a theory on the actual suspension, because just how it happened and everything, and then to get it back, it seems like it was an automated process, that it was just like, bang, account's been suspended. It was a 48-hour suspension, and then it's reviewed by a human being, and that from there, then the account comes back. But it seemed like the initial suspension, it was like an automated thing, and that was, you know, it was a lock on the account basically. And I feel like, you know, that's what happened. I think I actually sent you a link to a video from Craigslist Hunter, and he was talking about how his account got suspended for 7 days, and it's a very similar like feeling around everything. It just felt like it was this automated process. So it's kind of like suspend first and then review the account or ask questions later, you know. So
they didn't really communicate it very well though, because it said indefinitely, and every conversation you had with them was like, there's no way you're getting back. Like, it was just like, good luck on another platform, which I think that's probably the biggest issue, is if it is an automated process and there's a review process that's going on in the background, all they need to say is, look, we've suspended you for now. We're going to do a review process. If we find that, you know, everything looks fine, then you'll be reinstated. If not, we'll contact you and let you know that you have to move on. But it was a very like scripted response that they were providing you, like pretty much saying the same thing. It didn't really matter who you spoke to or who you sort of got directed to. It was all kind of the same sort of line. But
it was pretty funny. Well, not really, but because I spoke to one person in the chat, and I said, oh yeah, my account suspended. So initially they were like, oh, let me fix that. Let me have a look for you. And then it was like, they got to the information, they're like, oh, no, sorry, that account's been permanently suspended. And I was like, oh, okay, wow. But
yeah, I thought you were on the right path for that one, because they were like, oh, let me help you out. And I was like, oh my God, someone can help you. And then they're like, oh, no, we can't.
Now, another thing was actually, so after I got that email and then I listed an item and it sold, obviously I jumped straight on the chat just to find out what was happening. And the person I spoke to, they were like, oh yeah, like your account's been reinstated. And I was like, what? And they were like, you know, and they're like, yeah, so it was suspended, but it's been reinstated now. And I was like, okay, cool. Thanks.
There was a bit in the middle there as well. I remember you sent me a message that one of them was like, why do you think your eBay account's been suspended? And you're like, because I got an email that said I was suspended and all my listings got removed. Like, it was pretty clear.
Yeah.
And they sort of didn't really know. So I'm glad you got through to the right person in the end. But there's a few sort of things that came out of the live where people were sort of pushing us in different directions and reaching out to you and myself to try and, find avenues. And there's a few things that came up as a potential, like, these are the people you need to talk to. And it's not very well advertised. So I've written down here that you're sort of directed to the trust and safety team in the US. So I guess sort of talk a little bit about how you sort of came across that and what they're designed to do if you do manage to get in contact with them.
Well, that was actually someone on Facebook. So I think that was on the post from Julianne, who was the other person who lost their account and was suspended. And he said, you need to speak to this team in America. They are the only team for eBay that can actually reinstate your account. They're the only team that has the power to do that. So you need to get in contact with them. So what I did is I jumped on the chat and I said, I need to speak to your supervisor. And the supervisor is really busy. And they said, I'll get him to email you. And I said, okay. I said, I need him to contact this team in America because my account's currently suspended. I've been told that I need to speak to this team in America. They are the only team that have the authority to be able to reinstate my account. So I need to get in contact with them. And she was like, yeah, I'm going to get him to email you. And I said, can I have your guarantee that that's actually going to happen? And she's like, yes, that's definitely, within, he's going to email you today. And between that time and, before actually receiving an email from the supervisor, the account was actually reinstated. So I don't know whether the supervisor reached out to that team or, what, and I don't know how much of that actually had, any influence on what actually, happened after that. So,
yeah, I'm just trying to bring up the one that said, that you sort of been reinstated. So I'll just try and find that.
Yeah, it might be the second one, I think, out of the three that I sent you.
Yeah, I reckon you're right. It's just a bit muddled on this end, that's all.
Yeah.
That's still the wrong one, so that's good going. Let's get it. It must be the other one.
But I think, I guess the advice that I can give to anyone, is that it?
Yeah, it says, thanks for raising this matter with us.
Review your case, and see, where was it? Because it's like,
says in eBay has taken further steps to review your case and determined that your account has been reinstated. As a result, your account should be now unrestricted and you may continue listing. And then there was the further one that sort of talks about your responsibilities, like ongoing after that. So
I thought that was quite funny, that last email that they sent, because they sent that to me on Friday and it was like, you have, if you have any outstanding items to post, and it's like, dude, it's Friday. Like, my account was suspended on Monday. It's like, you serious? Like, and that was actually one thing that happened. Like, obviously my account was gone on Monday and I had about 3 items that had been paid for. And so I couldn't access the information in eBay. I couldn't. Luckily, 2 of them I'd already imported the information from eBay to Ozpost so that I could just manually, print out a label for those items and post those items off. And then the final item, luckily, I had already had 1 item for the same person. And so it was another item for them. So I already had their details to be able to fill that out and everything. But it was just kind of like, you can't get suspended. And it's like, well, you've got like people that have paid for items. And it's like, how am I supposed to send them these items if I can't access the information in the addresses? Anyway.
And you couldn't even send them a message or anything. Because I know there's a few options that we're looking at, because we sort of got tipped off that there was another person in Australia that had their account reinstated. And we're going to try and contact them. And then we're like, actually, we probably shouldn't do that on eBay, because then eBay are sort of viewing us trying to get your account back. So then we found them on Facebook, but luckily we didn't have to get in touch with them. So that was the message that you got, which pretty much said, you still have responsibility as a seller. So you managed to get around that as best you could. Sam's asking if we need to be Karens. I think that's probably the the outcome is probably I don't know. There was a lot of people saying it's not going to happen. It's not going to get back, and it would be very easy to give up. And I know that not only yourself, but other people were trying lots of avenues to try and get it back. But at the end of the day, we don't really know what that trigger was to get it back. But at least it's back, and you can try all these options if it does happen to you. So
I mean, I would say if you do, and I'm not hoping that anybody does, but if you do end up getting hit with a suspension, I would just say just contact eBay and get to a supervisor, and then But I mean, one thing that I feel like helped me as well was multiple chats with different people, and I actually got different information from the different people that I was speaking to. Like one person kind of didn't really give me anything, and then so I'd get on the chat and I'd speak to somebody else, and this other person just gave me all this information. They're like this and this and this and this and this, and I was like, okay, great, And then I think a bit later in the scenario was like, in the chat I kind of said, I know that you can't give me the actual reason why, but can you tell me if it was more than one thing that was the cause of this? And so they kind of said, it was a counterfeit claim that was what actually hit my account with a suspension. So
and I do believe that the other person that we're talking about earlier did get theirs back as well. So it seems like they're sort of maybe testing out some new processes, and it's not gone too well.
It did seem like, because they got their account back as well, so it seemed like it was a blanket, like 48-hour suspension, and then the account comes up for review. That's what it seems like. So
sounds like a dodgy person would not call and try to fix it. That's very true, and that's kind of like the tack that we're going down. Hey, we're like, who can we reach out to and try and sort through the problem? Because it was pretty clear that you were happy to fix whatever needed to be fixed. Like you weren't trying to dodge anything, you weren't trying to get around anything. You even sent items to people after you got suspended, so it was pretty clear that you were trying to do the right thing, which I'm sure probably helped in the long term. You sort of, even though that you were suspended, you were still sending items to people, which probably flagged with eBay on their end because they would have got the notification that it went through. So maybe all those sort of little things, like you're still trying to keep your account in good standing, even though you're suspended, potentially helped. So
but I think the other thing also is just not getting upset with the eBay people that you're not going off at them or anything. I think that goes a really long way, because I feel like you could just shoot yourself in the foot if you just get really frustrated and you just lose your temper and just go off on them. It's not going to help your situation in the slightest, So I was like, I would just, if you need to walk away from the computer and, then come back, then I suggest doing that rather than, maybe saying something that isn't going to help you in the long run. So
I think that's kind of like, we said on the last live, making the right sort of noise and, trying to get it in front of people that are able to look at it without sort of getting on their back about it. Because at the end of the day, most of those people you spoke to probably hadn't, all of them had probably nothing to do with the actual situation. They're just working at eBay. So you trying to talk through the situation and try and ascertain what had gone wrong, you're sort of showing that you're trying to resolve it. You're not obviously you're upset that your account's suspended, but you're not necessarily blaming the person on the other end of the phone, which I can tell you from personal experience, it goes a long way to getting a situation resolved. So Jazz is saying pretty amazing that you sold your first item within 10 minutes. It's definitely luck of the draw getting in touch with definitely.
That was good. I was happy to make a quick sale. I was like, okay, I'm back. So G'day
Drew, good to see you. So easy to make. Not want someone to help you. Yep. Have they put any restrictions on your account? We did touch on that before we came live. So you haven't noticed anything, have you? But you did have to re-sign up to an eBay store. That's correct?
Yeah, I just resubscribed to my eBay, to the store, to a basic store. And then from there, I've relisted probably about half of what I had listed. So I'm just consolidating now. So because with the basic store, I get about 600 listings per month. So I've got about 750 live now, and then I'm just going through the rest of it and just kind of consolidating it, because it's a lot of single DVDs was a lot of it, and I'm just consolidating into bundles and everything, just because I'd rather like get more, like a bigger sale each time, like rather than just one DVD.
Yeah, so that's kind of like I guess you sort of phrased as a positive when we were chatting the other day, is you've been able to, because every listing got unlisted and put into your end items, when you've been relisting and you've been able to sort of work out if you need to bundle them or fix a title or do something like that. So
it was definitely good to be able to kind of do that. So it was just like basically a store reset. So I've definitely sold like things that have like just been in my store for ages, absolutely ages, and then bang, now they've sold, now that the store's been reset. So I don't know if that's coincidental or
yeah, definitely. That was one thing we're saying, like pre-live as well, is like you might have to pay a little bit of insertion fees, but compared to not having a store at all, it's a small price to pay. So a lot of people are very happy for you, obviously. Toby's asking if we can ship to Netherlands. I haven't put Netherlands shipping on for quite a while, so I'm not sure.
I check with Ozpost, like because I sent something to Japan, and then they just checked, and but I think all the info's there just check.
Shazad's saying, unfortunately, no one knows why eBay does what they do. Yeah, not even eBay. Definitely. Did all your items go to unsold, so you still have them to work with?
Yes. Yeah, so all the listings initially got moved from live listings to ended, and they sat there in ended. So from what I understand, normally they stay there for a couple of weeks. So if it had been like a permanent suspension, then eventually they would all disappear. But they do sit there for a while. So so
I guess that's a small positive in the situation, is that they didn't disappear completely, and you're able to get your store back quick enough that they didn't. In terms of like other positives, like obviously there's a lot of sort of struggles in this situation, but if you could sort of pinpoint a couple positives in the whole situation, what would you sort of, what have you learned out of this situation that you can take forward?
I mean, it was interesting just, like just speaking to my family about it and everything, like, because they were probably more upset than I was, like in speaking with them just about it, because it was like, it kind of sucks. But then, I think just having a positive attitude just goes a long way. So regardless of what happens, if you can kind of stay in a positive frame of mind, it's just going to help you kind of, get through it. So, it's just kind of like, one door closes, another door opens. So it's just kind of like just staying in that kind of mindset and, that frame of mind, I think is, helps you, rather than going into a tailspin and, just going down and down and down, which is easy to do. So it's like, trying to stay positive,
especially in the situation that you were sort of faced with, like, reselling had been kind of becoming like your full-time income at this point in time because of COVID and all that sort of stuff. So it would definitely be quite easy for you to get into that negative spiral. And once you're in that, it's very hard to get out of it. So I think that's one thing that the whole way through, as frustrated as you were, and you could sort of, picked up in messages, you were still level-headed about it, and you still wanted to make it work and wanted to work around it. So I think that's probably the biggest thing that I'll take out of it if I ever am in that position that, touch wood that we never have to do with that. But, I think that's one thing is, I guess, try not to give up real quickly, because it took multiple emails. It took, multiple chats to get to the right people. We're still not really sure where that right person was, but we sort of found people along the way that were willing to sort of like reach out to people or get in contact with other people. So I guess putting it out there is probably the first step in trying to get some help. And
definitely. Yeah. But I think in the era of social media and everything like that, I think in one sense it's probably a lot quicker to be able to spread information, and to spread, whatever it is. So, on this, just to be able to get it out to a lot of people very quickly, it's easy to do that these days. Whereas before YouTube and all that kind of stuff, I could see it being a lot harder to get, information out and maybe get it to the right people.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Tom, good to see you. Thanks for being here. I noticed Jennifer dropped in. I've seen a few more drop in as well. So thanks everyone for being here. I think, regardless of where that got to, like the amount of people that sort of, were willing to try and help. And like we said, we don't really know if it was, someone outside yourself or it was an automated process that let that happen. But regardless of how it happened, the sort of community support, I think, was one thing that I sort of wanted to highlight. Obviously, we had people from the US looking into it for us. I sort of reached out to a few people that we've had contact with over there, like Pure Hustle Podcast. I know they've got some friends at eBay, and they said, "Oh, look, we'll see what we can do and get in contact."
Yeah, cool. That's awesome.
Same with like Rally. They're like, "Look, we'll see what we can do." Obviously, we got it back so quick that they probably didn't even need to get that process rolling, but people were willing to help. Same with Chris. I know that he sent it to one of their contacts over in the UK. So thanks to them. Shazad.
Thank you to everybody. Thank you to everyone, really, that I really felt just so supported through the whole thing. Everyone was really right behind me and everything. So that was really great.
Yeah. And Shazad rang as well. So there's people sharing it all over Instagram, and all those little things add up. Like all those little bits and pieces. It doesn't matter how big or small you are. If you can contribute to something like that, it all goes towards the common goal. So if that ever happened to someone else, people are going to be there for you as well, because you've been there for them. So I think it's a good lesson for a lot of us that, it's so easy for eBay just to flick that switch on you. And I think diversification is something that a lot of us have been looking at, because obviously in Australia, eBay is probably our biggest platform. But now that you've sort of been through hell and back, really, let's be honest, what are you looking at from here on? Are you sort of gonna start spreading the eggs a little bit further than eBay, or what's the
well, I did set up an account for Amazon, because I did want to just have a little experiment there, and just kind of see going forward, see what's possible, and so definitely open to the idea of experimenting with other platforms and everything like that. And definitely, I guess, trying to get some more stuff up on Depop and things. And it's like, I feel like there's probably one or two platforms that, haven't even kind of been invented yet that, potentially in the next few years will just get really big, and be some competition to eBay. So I'm kind of interested to see what they are.
Super glad Gary's back. How else am I gonna know what to find to resell? And I think that's a big part of the community. Like obviously we all see you on Instagram, you've been on a few lives now, you've done a little bit of YouTube as well. Like we all sort of, we go along with the journey with each other almost, because we are a community, and that we don't have people that we work next to, or we don't really have that sort of cross table talk that you get in an office, but we talk to each other online, and you build up relationships with people. So I know for me, I was, to be honest, I was quite angry when you first told me, because I was like, that could be anyone in the community that we know, and people are relying on this at this point in time. A lot of people, because of the situation with jobs and stuff. So I definitely think that it was a bit of an eye-opener for not only myself, but probably a lot of people in the community. And Minikin's saying that they checked all their DVDs, which I think is a good start. But like you said, some of them, it's really hard to tell. Even I know Ken was saying the other day, even some of them trip him up, and he's a massive DVD seller. So I think I hope that if eBay have looked at this sort of stuff, that they take all the consideration on board, not just one circumstance, because you had built up a really good relationship on eBay with your feedback and selling to people. So I hope that they start taking these things on board rather than just blanket bans, because people make mistakes, like we said in the other one, and it's quite easy to make them. So hey, Sinister, good to see you. 75 people watching you tonight, which is awesome. Thank you everyone for being here. So I guess we've sort of talked about a few of the things that we did do. So if you were sort of in that position again, you'd be jumping on chat, asking to speak to a team leader firstly, or a supervisor.
Well, firstly, I'd just try and get as much information. So just gather as much information as you possibly can, because that was the biggest thing at first, because didn't know what was going on. So I think it might take speaking to a few different people just to try and get as much information as you can about the reason for your suspension, and then you can kind of go from there, because there was a little bit of putting bits together, putting a jigsaw together to really work out what was going on, and what could have been the cause and all that kind of stuff. So
and you're right, you sort of every time, like, because you screenshotted a lot of the conversations and dropped them in Instagram, so I could sort of see what was going on. And you're right, you're getting like tiny little bits of information each time you got on, but no one would give you the full story. So trying to like piece all that together and understand what's actually happened. I think if you just chatted to one person, you're just going to get that flat, oh, you're banned, and you're probably going to give up. The more people you talk to, the more little bits of information you're going to get, and you might be able to piece it together, and hopefully they do a bit of a review and work out that, in whatever the case is, and have a look at it and work out if, they're right, or if you're right, or if there's some sort of in between that you can come to. Because I think most of us are, willing to admit if we've made errors, because that happens. You're going to make errors on eBay. Like, there's stuff on there that I still don't pick up because I don't know if it's real or not. So I think that's the balance, is hopefully going forward, they're a little bit more lenient on people and give them the opportunity to at least sort of fix the error. Anthony's asking where your Guitar Hero faceplate has got
down. It's down somewhere else. It's down on the floor, probably. I've got a few of them. I've got guitars like right here.
Oh, nice.
You're right. So
definitely the Guitar Hero king. Some of the prices you get on some of these Guitar Heroes blows me away. So one question I had for you, and it's a little bit of a lighthearted question, but are you glad to be back online so you can continue on the $5 challenge? That's probably the most important question.
I've actually dropped off a little bit. Like, I haven't.
Well, I don't blame you. Had a week off.
I haven't logged anything, and I haven't done anything for a bit. So I was just kind of like, because it's a bit of just the way that I work. It's just it's like kind of feel like it's double handling a little bit in a way, to be doing everything to do it. So it's just kind of like, it just hasn't been, especially just recently, hasn't been the focus. So I don't know. I've probably got some sales that I made that I need to log.
Like Ken's saying, I think as long as you're willing to accept you did something wrong, they will work with you. Digging in gets you nowhere. Yeah, I think that's the thing. I kind of agree in one way. Like, you were saying that you're happy to fix it, but on the other hand, a lot of the responses you were getting weren't overly supportive of you sort of fixing anything. It was just kind of like, no, you're not coming back. Good luck on another platform.
Even is just finding out, like, you know, that you do have something on your account, you know, because I know one thing that they mentioned to me was about, what was it, like, off-platform sales, or it's like, but like that's classed as like if you give information to a buyer before they've actually finalized the sale, then that is classed as a off platform sale.
Yeah. So if you're like doing a local pickup, make sure that it's all paid for before you sort of,
which is what I do now. But I know that in the past, or, you know, earlier on, because I mean, I've only been selling, you know, like really seriously for like maybe 18 months or less than. So, you know, I think when you're starting out, you definitely make mistakes because you don't know what you're doing. And, you know, you're not even now not aware of all of the eBay policies on different things and how you're supposed to approach them or what you're meant to do. And, you know, you're not meant to give out any information to somebody until they've finalized their sale. So,
even after the sale, like with eBay, if you go into your address settings, you can actually set like a pickup address in there. So say you operate out of a studio and your pickup address is different to your home address where you ship from. You actually set it in there as a different address, so that in the occasion that someone does do a local pickup, they'll get advised where to pick it up from. So there's sort of mechanisms in eBay to sort of like point you away from telling people where you live and that sort of stuff. So I think just review those if you sort of aren't sure. Because it is so
I'm kind of lucky because I'm not working out of my home address anyway, so it is just a workplace. So I'm a little bit, you know, it's fine to be giving out that information. It's not my personal home address. So
definitely. I was going to say something and I forgot what it was. DVG's saying, agree, keep it cool. You don't want to be losing your shit. They're not going to help you if you curse them out. Yeah, exactly. I think that's the biggest positive for Gary is obviously a pretty level-headed guy, and you know he's remained pretty calm through the situation. And like we said last week, one of your messages gave me a little bit of a laugh where you were like, 5 easy ways to get your account suspended. You like to find the lighthearted side of situations.
Try to definitely. So
eBay run on bot suspension can be caused by minor errors that you might not even know about. I
feel like that's what happened. I really do feel like it was an automatic thing. It wasn't there wasn't a human involved in it. It was like, you know, that was it. So
one thing that I did after the live is I went through all my seller performance just to check like what had been going on, to make sure I hadn't missed any, like, you know, late deliveries or anything like that. The only thing that sort of was a little bit higher than I would like it to be was returns, but you can't really dodge that. If someone decides that something doesn't fit or it's not the right item, they've got to send it back.
Selling a lot of clothing as well, isn't it? It's like you're always going to get returns for like jeans and stuff like that. So so I guess try and do your best. Try not to use like the word copy, even if you're saying genuine copy, because that might have been the thing that flagged it initially. Potentially.
If it does happen, don't give up, I guess, because I guess Gary's situation shows that, you know, you could have just easily stepped off day one, not contacted back, not put any effort in, and then it may not have come back. Like it might have just been because you were continuously like following it up, contacting different people. You know, maybe that's the thing that got you over the line, is that you're trying to communicate on a level that was going to get you some sort of response. So
I mean, I was, you know, just from doing all the research once it had happened and speaking to so many different people, you know, the general consensus was, you know, you don't generally get the account back once something like this has occurred. So just, you know, tempering that with trying to stay positive, but, you know, just in the same time, you don't want to just fully get your hopes up and go, yep, I'm definitely going to get the account back, and then not get it back, because that would just be you know, that would be soul destroying. You know, you just be like, so like, I was just trying to, you know, stay in that tempered state where it's like, I'm not sure what's going to happen, you know, but we're just going to see how things play out. So, yeah.
Yeah, and this comment's probably pretty true at the moment. Is that was some of the wording I know that they said to you and to the other person as well, that like you were a risk to eBay. So obviously they sort of, their bots flag you, and then that highlights you as a risk, and then once it's reviewed by a person, I'm not sure what sort of triggers that, but maybe eBay are sort of slowly changing their processes. I don't know why they would just ban you flat out straight away, but at least they reviewed it. So I don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean, it feels like there's more AI integration, or there's more, you know, the computers are doing more stuff, and it's less human involvement. That's kind of what it feels like. So
Jazz had to explain eBay's postage procedure to eBay yesterday, so that was an interesting conversation. We had an international buyer who, we didn't have international on these items, but they must have found us. I mean, they must have jumped on eBay Australia and found a listing, so they purchased them.
That happened before, so
yeah, and I had to add postage on it, so I had to send them an invoice, and it wasn't working, and all this sort of stuff. And it was a pretty interesting conversation, let's just put it that way. Jazzy was trying to remain very calm with them, but it was getting pretty frustrating because they didn't know what they were doing. So mate, it's a bit of an eye-opener when a seller knows a bit more about the platform than what eBay does. Yes, good news, Jonathan. Gary did get his account back. So
back. Yeah.
Very, very happy, Gary, and a very happy community, I think, overall. So I know that when I put up the little post that's saying you're back, I got a lot of messages saying, oh my God, that's amazing. And like, you know, happy for Gary, and I'm sure you got similar. So it's very...
so many messages from people just saying, you know, stoked. So yeah, thank you everyone. Yeah,
definitely. Jazz is a bit of a dark horse. She'll sort him out. So I guess the moral of the story is, if you do get suspended on eBay, try your best to remain calm, because I know my first reaction was like disappointed and angry. And I'm sure that you were confused. But I guess trying to work through the situation calmly, provide as much information as you can, even if they don't want to hear it. Because I know that was one thing when you're talking to them, you're like giving them everything you could to try and get them to like talk to you. And a lot of them were just sort of like slapping it back. But at least putting it in front of them over and over, maybe it just gets in front of that person that's actually going to pay attention to it. So I think keep on top of it, reach out to as many people as you can, because we do have these connections through the community. Like, all of us speak to people overseas, speak to other people in our community. And I know that some people will message me on eBay, on Facebook, saying like, oh, check this person out, or check this person out, or check out this video. And all those little pieces of information potentially help. So yeah, I think try and get as much information as you can.
Definitely.
Hopefully this won't happen to many people.
I mean, I spoke to you, but I think I'm going to do a video for my YouTube channel just to have it up there, of like, you know, just so that people can, you know, just as a resource for people to be able to go to, because it's like, undoubtedly there's going to be people that find themselves in a similar situation, and just kind of, so, you know, just having, you know, being able to refer to somebody who's been through the same thing. And so you know, just so that you can just try everything, you know, all the different, you know,
avenues. I did want to highlight that Trust and Safety Team US. So that was the one that was sort of the end goal if everything else went to crap. So Trust and Safety Team US, if you can get in contact with them somehow, they're the ones that apparently can fix
it. So
you
can't, I'm pretty sure you can't contact them directly. You have to go through a supervisor. So, and then the supervisor would have to internally reach out to them. So that would be my suggestion on what to do if something like this does occur. And yeah, I would just maybe just compile all the information, everything you know, and then as much information as you can get from the people that you speak to, put it all in, like a document so that you can send it to them or email it to them, whichever, and have that ready to go when you start, pushing to speak to a supervisor.
Yeah, I think having that, I think not only does that help them, but it helps you stay on task, because it'd be so easy to sort of like hit that stone wall and get frustrated that they're not helping you. But if you've got it all in like a chronological order and you've got all the information in front of you, you're just giving them the information, and you can't really sort of like deviate off that too much, because that's when you start sort of hitting brick walls, I feel. So, yeah, a lot of people are saying, imagine if there was no community. Yeah, it'd be very difficult. They need to send us like a written email warnings. Absolutely. What it was for and so on. So we're able to, so we know where we stand. I think even just a notification to say, hey, we've pulled this listing because we potentially think it's a counterfeit. No worries. We'll get rid of that listing, or at least give us the opportunity to prove that the item is legitimate. Don't just like cut people off with no word of warning or no like retaliation, like no ability to fix the issue. So, and I guess there are sort of items as well that are higher risk, like Toby's saying here. Do not list Louis Vuitton bags eBay without a certain authenticity. So, I guess DVDs get copied quite a lot, which is obviously a risk. High end clothing, bags, shoes.
Nikes get copied, so
yeah, you have to be careful. There are websites that you can get stuff authenticated as well if you're not sure if you have those really high-end items. And I think it's like $15 or $20 to get it done. So sometimes if you've got like a Louis Vuitton bag, it's probably worth getting that done, and then you're covered. So I think that's one thing that I'm taking out of this as well, is I'm going to be very careful with anything like that. Hey, Lainey, good to see you. Jazz has dropped your channel in the chat, so make sure you head over to Gary's channel. He'll be doing a bit of a follow-up video, bit of a condensed
there's not much there at the moment, but I mean, it's a work in progress, and try to put some more stuff up there.
Yeah, definitely. Well, you've been through an experience that not many of us have, so you've got a lot of information in that brain. I know it's hard to sort of like tell everything live and remember every little detail. So, I think putting out that video will not sort of only help you like understand the situation, but it'll help other people come back to you. So, and hopefully deal with it better as well. So, Chris has jumped over and subbed. So thank you, Chris. I did want to thank everyone that came along last week and sort of, supported Gary in this situation, reached out to ourselves on either myself or Gary on Facebook. There was people sending us links to other people that have been suspended and managed to get off. Thank you to every person that participated in helping getting Gary's store back. Obviously, as we said, we don't know exactly what made it come back, but we're just thankful that it did. I'm hoping that we don't have to deal with this ever again in the Australian reseller community, because it's a big beast and it's scary. So, what I guess we've got about 10 minutes to go. So, what's on the horizon now that you've got eBay back? Obviously, just building back the listings and trying to stay on task, I suppose.
Yeah, well, I think I definitely I need to. The next step for me is to get some bulk deals or some wholesale, or just really looking to kind of scale up on what I'm doing. So just on the lookout and just doing research and doing all of that. So that's I guess where I am at for that. I mean, just this whole experience has just really kind of made it abundantly clear to me that I really need to kind of scale up what I'm doing, and just be really serious about it. Not that I wasn't serious before, but I'm pretty serious about building my business and making money.
Something like that will definitely light a fire under you. Like it'll send you either in one direction. It'll send you either in one of two directions. So I think you're headed in the right way. I did want to say congratulations to Cookie and the Hayden's for hitting 5K subs today. I saw Toby drop that in.
Congrats, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's great work. So yeah, I guess going forward, if anything sort of comes up in future, we'll definitely try and feed it back through. But at this point in time, it looks like most of your store's back except for messaging. Is that?
Yeah, I can't at the moment. I can't respond to messages outside of sales. So if there's a couple of people that have sent me messages asking questions about items in my store, and I can't respond to them, but I can, like, if once someone's made a purchase and then they ask me a question or something, then I can respond to them. So hopefully that gets sorted soon. So I don't know, I maybe have to jump on the chat and talk to them about that.
Have you had any issues with like sending offers or anything like that, or is that all functioning okay?
No. Like, I mean, obviously, just because I had more stuff in my store before, then you've got more. Like at the moment, it's kind of like I've just
low.
Anything that I can send an offer on, I'm sending an offer on. So it's kind of like down to zero, and then just waiting for more to kind of come up, kind of thing. So yeah.
And you said sales have been coming through, so it doesn't really look like it's sort of like restricted in your view or anything.
Not at all. It was a solid weekend of sales. Like, you know, obviously I was back by the weekend, and then it was a solid weekend of sales, which is great. So yeah.
It's awesome. Well,
if anybody wants a Punisher DVD, happy to just send it. You know, if anyone wants it, just give me your address details. I'll send it to you. No money has to change hands.
I'd be burning that thing ceremoniously, to be honest. So you mentioned that you're sort of going to try and tackle Amazon. You mentioned just before we went live that you got a bit of Depop, a bit of Facebook. So you are going to sort of spread things a little bit around and hopefully get some sales.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't have much stuff on. Don't really utilize Marketplace that much. I've only got a few things on Marketplace, so it might be good to just put some more stuff up on Marketplace and kind of see how we go with that. And one thing I've noticed, because I joined a bunch of burn it, it's embarrassing. Probably not a bad idea, but what was I going to say? Yeah, so Marketplace. Yeah, what I've noticed is, because I've joined a bunch of gaming kind of groups just in the last little bit, and one thing that they're kind of doing is they're doing kind of auctions like on a lot of games and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, you know, it's just in the chat, basically an auction. People kind of say how much they're willing to, you know, you go down to like a time cut off and then that's it, which I find a bit weird, but I mean, it's the same thing, but it's kind of the only thing is that there's no like buyer protection or anything really.
Yeah. So, I have seen a fair bit of that as well. I think I'm actually in the same one that you are, because I saw you comment on something today and I was like, oh, this is an interesting concept. So, I mean,
it's just basically to avoid the fees, really. Like, you know, that's all it is. So, yeah.
Drew's threatening to unsub if Chris and that don't slow down on the $5 challenge. They're smashing it over there in the UK. So, well done, guys. I've slowed right down. We are coming to sort of the end of the $5 challenge as well. So we've got about 6-7 weeks to go.
Yeah.
So I guess it is a little bit of a sprint to the end. It's been a long process, but make sure you guys are still logging those sales, because there is money on the line, a bit of bragging rights as well. So
I'll see how I go. I mean, I'm pretty confident I can definitely be top 10. So yeah.
Yeah, I reckon you will be as well. We sort of backed right off, because obviously we can't win anyway. But we're sort of ticking along quite well until we started buying bulk stuff that we couldn't enter. So thanks for the information. No worries at all. I'm glad that we could share Gary's positive end of the story, because last week was a very different chat. But it's good that it's come full circle and being able to share both parts of it, because I think both parts of it are very important. So thanks to Gary, firstly, for wanting to share his experience, because I know that it's not something that's fun to talk about, but I think from the start, Gary wanted to get the information out to people and try and help other people avoid this situation.
I mean, undoubtedly, it's going to help other people that find themselves in a similar situation. So I think, the more knowledge you have, it's just going to help you plan your strategy on what you can do, and exploring every avenue, to if it's been suspended, to get it reinstated. So,
yeah. Fingers crossed it's the last one we ever have to deal with.
I got it out of the way now, I guess. It's
hopefully they've realized
it's struck twice, man. It's just
hopefully it's like chickenpox, you can only get it once, right? When's the end? The last date is going to be, I think the end date is 1st of November. I think that's a Sunday. So it's about 6-7 weeks to go. So if you want to try and get those sales in before then and climb the ladder, definitely maybe run some sales, Chris is suggesting. So that's pretty cool. Flipper's saying auctions and raffles are huge within certain collector communities at the moment. COVID to thank for that. Government money and stuck at home. One thing I did want to say before we leave tonight is Christmas is coming around fast. So I'm sort of expecting, and I'm hoping that this is correct, that Christmas this year is probably going to be pretty busy. So we've noticed a little bit of a drop-off probably this last week, and I'm not sure if it's because of a couple pending returns, but I've heard a lot of other people have slowed down a little bit as well. So I'm kind of expecting that little bit of a dip now, but that sort of late October, November, December, I think we're all going to do quite well. So get your listings up now if you can. Think about what people are buying for Christmas. We might do a Q4 live in a couple of weeks just so we can talk a little bit about them, but that just reminded me that it's coming. So definitely get onto that.
It's been pretty crazy though, just with for Oz Post, just how much mail they've actually had to process and go through has been ridiculous, so it's it's crazy, man. So
a few people are saying in the chat their sales have dropped.
It dropped on Sunday for me. Sunday kind of dropped off after the weekend. So
we were pretty steady right through the last 2 months, and then the last sort of, I'd say week, maybe 4 days, I'd say, has been sort of about 60 to 70% of what we were doing. So we've seen a little bit of a dip there. So obviously it depends what you're selling, what sort of store you have, what sort of stock you have, but I think overall we may see a little bit of a slump here and then pick right up. So I had a poor mail dude drop a parcel at my house at 6 p.m. We have one that rocks up around then as well, so long days for them. So try and be kind to your local postie. Clothing tends to start dying off for now until January in my experience. 3 sales today, so a few people here and there. Looks like it's going okay. So we're pretty much at the end of the live. I guess if anyone takes anything out of today is don't give up. Reach out to people for help if you need it. And do your best to stay calm. As we said, make sure you head over to Gary's channel, give him a sub, check him out on Instagram at Flippin' Sydney. Check out what he's selling because now he's back online. He's got some sales raffling through, which is good to see. And we want to thank everyone again for the support they've shown Gary. And I know that Gary's super thankful for everyone's support. Is there anything you want to say before I wrap up, Gary, at all?
If anybody does have any questions about anything, if, for whatever reason, just if you want to get in contact with me, just feel free to get in contact. You can, maybe Instagram's probably the easiest way to get in contact. But if anybody has any questions about anything that we talked about or, going forward, if anyone finds themselves in a situation where, they just want to reach out, then feel free to do that. I'm contactable always. So,
open book, which is great. So, thanks to Gary for sharing his story. I think it's really important for the community to know that what you can do if this happens. And he's definitely there to reach out if you need him. We're happy to field any questions and feed them back through Gary if you can't find Gary as well. But at Flippin' Sydney over on Instagram, so definitely check that out. we got a couple things coming up this week. So Friday, our normal video will be dropping. We did a garage sale ride along, so a bit of garage sale footage, which is some fun as always.
Cool.
Yeah, and next week we're going to do a bit of a fail, because before all this craziness happened, we're talking about trying to do something pretty big, and it failed. So we like to share our positives and our negatives on this channel. So we'll be sharing a little bit of a failure next week, and hopefully we'll learn from it. So that's what's coming up. I want to thank everyone for being here. Thanks for the support for Gary. Make sure you hit the thumbs up and go over to Gary and say g'day. Great guy, as you can see. And we will see you next time on Twelsley Thrifters. Bye for now.
Thanks, everyone.